The Aegean, a cradle of European civilization, was the dynamic core of the Bronze Age Mediterranean. Its extensive network of islands and coastlines fostered remarkable interactions, linking emerging Near Eastern and Egyptian civilizations with Europe's evolving cultures. This was a time of fluctuating power, refined artistry, and significant innovation, giving rise to Grand Palace societies. Three powerful cultures thrived in this region. Archaeologists categorize their findings using local terminology: Minoan for Crete, Helladic for mainland Greece, and Cycladic for the islands. Each culture is further divided into early, middle, and late phases, with specific subdivisions. The early Bronze Age established essential foundations. In Crete, communities refined metalworking with imported copper arsenic daggers. Settlements expanded, with Knossos, Malea, and Phaistos rising. We see initial signs of social complexity: seals for administration and identification, and early hints of long-distance trade with the Cyclades in Egypt. On mainland Greece, the future Mycenaeans began to establish themselves. By this period's end, some settlements were fortified. The renowned site of Lerna in the Peloponnese, with its impressive mud brick house of tiles, multiple levels, 70 unique seal designs, provides insight into early administrative practices and organized society. Simultaneously, the Cycladic islands flourished. They cultivated olives and vines alongside grains, and their populous settlements showed administrative systems through seals. These islanders excelled in utilizing raw materials, exporting precious obsidian, copper, and early bronze. They crafted strikingly stylized marble figures alongside elaborate marble vessels and unique frying pan shapes. The growing presence of Cycladic figures on Crete and the mainland, along with mainland pottery on the islands, illustrates a vivid scenario. Even in these early times, the Aegean was a tapestry of unique, continuously interacting cultures. As the Middle Bronze Age began, a significant change unfolded on Crete: the rise of the first palatial complexes. Sites like Knossos, Phaistos, and Malea emerged as stunning centers of authority, where governance, politics, economics, and deep-rooted religious ceremonies converged. Their immense size and intricate design convey much, yet their actual purpose is mostly deduced, since the Minoans' graceful script, Linear A, remains undeciphered. Their vibrant economic activities were evident, with extensive storage for oils and grains and bustling textile workshops. Increased writing and sealing systems suggested a complex administrative structure. One remarkable aspect of Minoan palaces is their absence of fortifications. This sparks speculation. Were the Minoans genuinely peaceful, secure in naval supremacy, perhaps even a thalassocracy or sea empire? Minoan culture, celebrated for its fluid artistic designs and ties to marine and botanical life, extended beyond Crete, with Kamar's ware pottery discovered as far as Cyprus, the Levant, and Egypt. Their deep spirituality was manifested in peak and cave sanctuaries, often linked to settlements, such as Mount Juktas near Knossos, where votive figurines and the mysterious double axe, La Brise, were offered. They revered a significant female deity, the snake goddess, whose influence was evident in their art and embraced on the mainland. Around 1700 BC, widespread devastation swept through Crete, leaving only Knossos to reclaim its glory. As Crete rebuilt, mainland Greece embarked on its own transformation. The Middle Bronze Age concluded amidst crisis. From this turmoil arose the foundations of Mycenaean civilization. By this period's end, prestigious burial items began to surface, notably in the shaft graves of Mycenae. These initial burials suggested the emergence of a new, powerful elite, showcasing wealth and status through stunning gold artifacts and connections with Minoan Crete. Settlements like Thebes, Mycenae, and Argos began to expand, evolving into the formidable centers we recognize today. The Late Bronze Age marked the pinnacle of Mycenaean civilization. Their cities were fortified citadels, built around a central hall, the Megaron. The massive walls of Mycenae and Tiryns, constructed from enormous unrefined stones, were so impressive that later Greeks believed only giants could have built them. These strong fortifications reveal a society wary of attacks. In contrast to the Minoans, the Mycenaeans provided a partial glimpse into their world through Linear B. This primarily administrative script, abundant at Pylos and Knossos after Mycenaean conquest, indicates their centers were organized for redistribution and storage. Importantly, it identifies their leaders, the Wanaks, king, and Lawagetas, governor. This offers unique insight into genuine Bronze Age leadership titles in Europe. Approximately 1400 BC, Mycenaeans broadened their influence, settling on Crete and bringing Linear B. The era from 1400 to 1300 BC is their palace period, characterized by Mycenaean pottery and stunning frescoes. The Aegean during the Bronze Age was a network of vibrant interactions where commodities, concepts, and artistic expressions circulated freely. Trade was essential. Archaeological digs at royal sites and burial grounds uncover extensive ties with Egypt, Cyprus, and the Near East, with Minoans often vital intermediaries. The Uluburun shipwreck, which sank off Anatolia, late 14th, early 13th century BC, with its astonishing variety of cargo, serves as powerful testament to extensive multicultural, late Bronze Age exchanges. In art and craftsmanship, the older, more established Minoan culture clearly dominated. Their elaborate pottery and frescoes, characterized by fluid artistic style and focus on marine and botanical themes, were highly sought after. Mycenaeans not only desired Minoan artistry, but boldly integrated Minoan designs, like the octopus, into their own more formal expressions. The two gold Vaphio cups discovered in a Mycenaean tomb perfectly exemplify this. One serene and fluid, Minoan, the other fierce and structured, Mycenaean, representing two unique artistic spirits. Elaborate inlaid daggers and the stunning combat agate from the Griffin warrior tomb at Pylos, likely Minoan works for Mycenaean rulers, further emphasize this influence. Burial customs provide another dimension of interaction. Minoans interred their elite in pithoi, large burial jars. Mycenaeans adopted this, often placing several bodies in a single jar. Both constructed magnificent tholos or beehive tombs, monumental edifices created through corbelling. The renowned treasury of Atreus, or Tomb of Agamemnon, at Mycenae, circa 1250 BC, is the most notable example. Indeed, treasures from Mycenaean shaft graves, where legendary gold death masks were found, testify to close ties with Minoans, forming foundations for emerging Mycenaean civilization. Even in religion, connections between cultures are evident. Minoan art depicts libations, processions, feasts, and bull leaping. Their sacred symbols, horns of consecration, sacral knot, and double axe, adorned temples and palaces. A powerful female goddess was pervasive. For Mycenaeans, our understanding of their religion comes mainly from art and archaeology. Yet Linear B tablets reference many deities later honored by classical Greeks: Poseidon, Zeus, Artemis, Hermes, establishing a direct connection to the Greek mythological pantheon. The Cycladic Islands, strategically located, were of significant importance. By the late Bronze Age, they embraced Minoan artistic styles, measurements, and even Linear A. This is vividly illustrated at Akrotiri, a Cycladic city on Thera, preserved like an Aegean Pompeii due to the catastrophic volcanic eruption, circa 1650 to 1550 BC. Around 1400 BC, Minoan influence declined, giving way to rising Mycenaean supremacy in pottery and architecture. By the late Bronze Age's conclusion, numerous Cycladic centers faced a similar fate to their larger neighbors, being destroyed or abandoned. As the late Bronze Age came to an end, a pall descended over the Aegean. Around 1450 BC, widespread fires ravaged sites throughout Crete, leaving only Knossos relatively unscathed. However, by 1200 BC, the splendid Mycenaean palatial system itself experienced a catastrophic collapse. Major complexes were obliterated, never reconstructed. Some settlements were deserted, while others were reduced to mere remnants. Importantly, the art of writing disappeared from the region for centuries. The Bronze Age collapse is a significant historical enigma marked by extensive devastation. Researchers diligently try to uncover its causes. Possible explanations range from natural calamities to environmental changes. Additionally, internal conflicts from social upheaval or overpopulation may have undermined these societies. Moreover, the mysterious sea peoples, referenced in Egyptian records, are considered a key element. The dominant perspective suggests a catastrophic combination of these various factors, resulting in the disintegration of once flourishing civilizations. By 1100 BC, the dynamic Bronze Age cultures of the Aegean had mostly vanished, leaving behind fragmented, simpler communities. The art of writing would not re-emerge until the Greek Archaic period, many centuries later. Nevertheless, the remnants of this heroic era continued to resonate. Imagine a landscape teeming with life, where distant mountain ranges meet sun-drenched coastlines, and ancient pathways crisscross the land. This is Bronze Age Italy, a vibrant peninsula and its surrounding islands, undergoing profound transformations. Far from a monolithic entity, this era witnessed a magnificent mosaic of cultures, each adapting, innovating, and interacting, laying the groundwork for the powerful societies that would follow. This segment will focus on central and southern Italy, with northern Italy and the Alps coming later. In the first half of the second millennium BC, Apennine societies were primarily structured around kinship, with collective burials often highlighting those who bore weapons. This era saw the stirrings of vital coastal trade networks, connecting southern Italy and its islands with the eastern Adriatic and central Tyrrhenian regions. Daring voyages from the Aegean and East Mediterranean reached Apulia, seeking precious metals and exotic amber, with Sicily and the Aeolian Islands acting as crucial early hubs for central Mediterranean exchange. As the late Bronze Age dawned, from 1350 BC, relentless demographic growth intensified the demand for metal, which became central to daily life. External contacts intensified, particularly with northern Italy and the distant eastern Mediterranean. A major transformation was the emergence of cremation. This radical new ritual, often ideologically opposed to traditional inhumation, became increasingly exclusive, particularly in the final Bronze Age, with weapons systematically excluded from men's funerary outfits. In regions like southern Etruria and ancient Lazio, cremation became the exclusive right of the very few holding key community roles. This was not merely a new religion spreading, it was an opportunistic adoption of an ideological innovation, reflecting a decisive shift from shared, kinship-based power to a more centralized political authority. This profound connection between cremation and centralized power became a fundamental organizing principle in late and final Bronze Age, central and northern Italy, laying the groundwork for the proto-urban centers of the early Iron Age. As the early Iron Age dawned, 10th to 9th century BC, central and southern Italy began to diverge. In the south, a generalized return to inhumation saw weapons reappear in men's graves, signifying a more traditional sharing of political power among kinship units, corresponding with a notable absence of local proto-urban or early state formations. Interestingly, the main trajectories toward true social and political complexity appeared instead in central and northern Italy, where a powerful Cypriot Phoenician economic influence probably began to operate from the final Bronze Age, subtly reshaping their destinies. In the marsh, precious amber from Piscine burials highlights the region's vital role in long-distance trade. Southern Etruria led in socio-political complexity, with settlements controlling territory from isolated tuff plateau and formal burial exclusive to a very few superordinate individuals. A sophisticated metal production disseminated magnificent bronzes. The early Iron Age here, known as Villanovan, was a remarkably unitary phenomenon, ancestral to historical Etruscan culture, marked by vast cremation cemeteries and the emergence of true proto-urban centers like Veii, where swords were limited to a very few male chiefs, reflecting highly centralized political power. In ancient Lazio, funerary rituals mirrored Etruria's, reflecting a distinct regional identity that eventually saw Rome, on the Tiber, begin its urban formation with a unified settlement. Campania was a vibrant tapestry of coexisting cultures, with the Euboean Emporion of Pithecusa on Ischia preceding later Greek colonies as a beacon of early international trade. In the southernmost regions like Apulia, exemplified at Rocca, distinct impasto pottery and imported late Helladic 3C vessels indicate strong Aegean links, with hoards of bronzes and gold sun discs showing a direct connection to a wider world. Sicily, a vast island at the heart of the Mediterranean, exhibited strong cultural autonomy from mainland Italy, yet was a powerful magnet for foreign contacts, especially from the vibrant Aegean and Eastern Mediterranean. These influences profoundly integrated with local cultures here, creating a unique synthesis. The early Bronze Age, 2200 to 1500 BC, saw the widespread Castelluccio culture with its distinctive pottery and collective cave burials. The Aeolian Islands emerged as a key trading hub, confirmed by abundant early Mycenaean pottery and the circulation of obsidian and clay. A significant shift occurred in the Middle Bronze Age, 1500 to 1250 BC, with the Thapsos Milizizi facies, marking the peak of Aegean and East Mediterranean sailings. Sites like Thapsos on the Magnesi Peninsula became crucial international emporia, evidenced by abundant Mycenaean and Cypriot pottery and even massive oxhide ingots. Tomb structures sometimes consciously imitated Mycenaean designs. Around 1250 BC, the Ausonian arrival from the Italian peninsula fundamentally altered Sicily's role, leading to the destruction of earlier settlements at Lipari. Despite this, the Sicilian Pantalica culture, 13th to 11th century BC, emerged as a major inland power, structurally related to earlier traditions and dominated by monumental anacteron buildings, reflecting powerful chieftains and continued Aegean Cypriot influences in their sophisticated bronze and gold artifacts. Sardinia, the Mediterranean's second-largest island, stands gloriously apart. Its Bronze Age story isn't one of passive reception, but of unique internal development and highly selective external engagement, forging distinct and surprising relationships with both the Aegean and Iberian worlds. The early and Middle Bronze Age saw the emergence of the awe-inspiring Nuragic civilization. The iconic giants' tombs, massive collective burial chambers, truly took shape, functioning as profound places of worship. And crucially, the nuraghi themselves began to rise, initially corridor nuraghi, evolving into the distinctive tholos nuraghi, monumental truncated cones with internal cupola vaults. These massive constructions, built through communal effort, served as powerful territorial markers, symbolizing status and control. The Nuragic Golden Age, spanning the end of the Middle Bronze Age to the recent Bronze Age and into the early Final Bronze Age, witnessed the emergence of intricate nuraghi, characterized by numerous towers and formidable stone enclosures, highlighting advanced planning and remarkable engineering. This civilization was remarkably homogeneous across the island, suggesting widespread well-being and community-based social organization, with the sheer density of nuraghi reflecting their function in territorial control and immense prestige. Sardinia's relationship with the Aegean deepened, with early finds like ivory and alabaster. The famous Uluburun shipwreck, with its precious cargo of copper and tin, and nuragic pottery found in distant Crete and Cyprus, firmly places Sardinia as an active participant in reciprocal Mediterranean connections. The characteristic oxide ingots found across the island indicate a privileged market for Cypriot copper, bringing advanced metallurgical technologies. This powerful Cypriot influence sparked an exponential improvement in local production, resulting in uniquely original nuragic bronzes, masterpieces of the era. Despite this powerful external influence, nuragic Sardinia fiercely maintained its core values: impressive monuments for the living and the dead, collective burials, simple pottery, and little interest in personal ornaments, new well temples and sacred springs, with refined stonework, often featuring striking votive swords as symbolic offerings, reflecting deep weapon and ancestor worship. The final phase of nuragic civilization, extending into the early Iron Age, was not a collapse, but a dynamic transformation. Federal sanctuaries increased as grand gathering places. A striking change in funerary practice emerged, individual inhumations with grave goods, perhaps linked to the arrival of Semitic peoples. Pottery evolved to elegant, decorated forms, and unique ascoid jugs became a distinctly Sardinian product. Miniature bronze boats, potent symbols of mastery over sea routes, also appeared. The nuragic civilization's descendants, skilled in mining, metallurgy, and sea trade, actively sought new resources. Even as the Phoenicians arrived, the nuragic spirit endured, with sites like Saint Mbenia shifting from nuragic villages to thriving Phoenician emporia, driven by new Iron Age trade in wine. From the intricate cave burials of Sicily to the colossal nuraghi of Sardinia and the evolving social structures of the Italian peninsula, it was an era that sculpted the diverse foundations upon which the classical civilizations of Italy would ultimately rise. The crossroads of the south, the Western Balkans and northern Adriatic. This dynamic, often turbulent region became a vital bridge, connecting the Aegean's ancient civilizations, Central Europe's emerging powers, and the vast eastern steppes. The Western Balkans are primarily a mountainous expanse, dominated by the imposing Dinaric Alps. These peaks dramatically divide the Mediterranean coast from the cooler continental interior. Extensive marshlands and floodplains meant most communities were strategically perched on elevated river terraces or naturally defensible heights. Crucially, the Western Balkans boast extraordinary wealth in ore deposits: copper, silver, gold, lead, and early iron. This fueled a burgeoning early metallurgy, transforming the region into a significant player in the broader Bronze Age economy. Our understanding of the Bronze Age here has been revolutionized. Pioneering projects at Pod near Bugojno, central Bosnia, Feudvar on the Tidal Plateau, and the intensely fortified Monkodanja in Istria have unearthed vital insights into settlement dynamics, sophisticated economic structures, and intricate social organization. The early Bronze Age in the southern Pannonian Plain was defined by cultures like the Somogi Var Vinkovci. Settlements typically occupied elevated ground near water. While most weren't heavily fortified initially, sites like Petrovaradin Fortress already boasted immense earthen banks. The economy here revolved heavily around stock raising, a sustainable foundation for growing populations. A monumental cultural shift swept through the region around 2000 BC, meticulously documented at Feudvar near Mosherin. This site, a powerful example of the Vatina culture, exemplifies early Bronze Age developments. Feudvar was a multi-phase tell-type settlement strategically commanding views over the Tisa and Danube rivers, a prime position for trade and communication. It was impressively fortified with a ditch and earthen bank, and even featured an outlying suburb indicating planned expansion. Internally, it displayed a sophisticated orthogonal plan with rectangular buildings along organized streets. Feudvar's prominence is underscored by its status as a hub of specialized craftsmanship, evidenced by a metal caster's workshop. The end of Feudvar's proto-urban phase coincided with a broader abandonment of similar central-type settlements across the Carpathian Basin. The mountainous Western Balkans offered striking parallels to Feudvar's early complexity. Pod in central Bosnia, a naturally defensible hill fort, also reveals dense, regularly arranged post holes suggesting proto-urban organization. Traces of metallurgical activity highlight its central role in regional production and trade. Meanwhile, the Posuche culture, thriving in the Dalmatian hinterland and Herzegovina, was characterized by elevated hill forts, typically smaller, yet powerfully fortified with massive dry stone walls. These hill forts mirrored the later Castellieri culture of Istria, signifying a pervasive regional trend towards defensive settlements. Major changes swept through the continental Western Balkans in the Middle Bronze Age. Many grand central-type settlements, including Feudvar and Pod, were temporarily abandoned or transformed. They were replaced by numerous smaller, largely unfortified hamlets, indicating a new, organized colonization strategy focused on individual farms. By the late Bronze Age, corresponding with the Urnfield period, a powerful, renewed intensity emerged. On the Tidal Plateau, Feudvar once again surged into importance, its defensive system reactivated. Along the Sava and Drava rivers, the Urnfield period witnessed renewed occupation and growth. Excavations in the Slovenian Drava Basin reveal diverse settlement types, including impressive proto-urban centers on elevated outcrops or high river terraces, flourishing around 1000 BC. Ormoj on the Drava stands as a prime example, a sprawling fortified settlement with a densely occupied interior and an ancillary suburb, clearly indicating complex, differentiated regional organizations. Central Bosnia, particularly at Pod, also shows parallels. After a hiatus, the site was re-inhabited in the late Bronze Age, fortified with formidable stone walls and a rampart, and deliberately arranged with two main streets dividing it into distinct quarters. Countless hoards of diverse bronze objects, alongside direct archaeological evidence, like molds and ingots, point to a thriving, widespread market and highly specialized traveling prospectors and master artisans. Funerary practices offer profound insights into Bronze Age social structures and beliefs. Along the Adriatic coast and its mountainous interior, from the early Bronze Age, the predominant rite involved interring the dead in mounds, primarily impressive stone cairns. Inhumation was main, though cremation also occurred. The Cetina culture in Dalmatia is recognizable by distinctive stone tumuli, often containing single individuals, but sometimes showing bi-ritual practices. In Istria, the fortified settlement of Moncodonja yielded exceptional tombs, integrated directly into its monumental main entrance. These stone-cist graves, some containing selected bones of multiple individuals, suggest special burials for local elites. Warrior graves with prestige weapons found in Lika, Croatia, speak to a distinct warrior cult. A unique cemetery type in the Adriatic hinterland is found within karst caves, notably Bezdanjacha Cave in Lika, which contained over 200 burials, hearths, and animal sacrifices. In the continental Western Balkans, tumuli burials continued, characteristic of the Glasenac culture in central Bosnia and western Serbia. These were mainly earthen mounds, often clustered in larger groups, forming significant landscape markers. Glasenac graves are relatively rich in metal artifacts, primarily exquisite bronze jewelry, clothing accessories, and precious amber beads, revealing strong trade connections. Some graves, though few, contained weapons, pointing to a leading warrior stratum. Further east in Serbia, in the Morava River basin, the Western Serbian variant of the Vatina culture also used tumuli, but here, cremation predominated. In the southern Carpathian basin, the Moorish group's Mokran Cemetery, early 2nd millennium BC, stands out dramatically, with over 300 inhumation graves. Strict, codified rules dictated burial based on gender and social status, with rich grave goods reflecting a complex, stratified society. Grave goods include rich pottery and small figurative sculptures, notably the famous Dupeljaja model of a three-wheeled cart drawn by waterfowl with a sun symbol and anthropomorphic statuette. Finally, in the period of the classic Urnfield culture, late Bronze Age, new cultural groups swept into southern Pannonia. Characteristic were vast, flat urn fields with hundreds of graves. Analysis of grave goods reveals strict funerary rituals and profound social differentiation in both male and female graves, suggesting a more complex Bronze Age society. The distinctive Castelliere, Italian, or Gradina, Croatian, fortified hill settlements are exceptionally concentrated in the northern Adriatic, particularly Istria and the Trieste hinterland. These sites were strategically placed on elevated terrain and defended by impressive cyclopean dry stone ramparts, showcasing monumental engineering. Moncodonja Gradina reveals a stunningly complex proto-urban design, an oval plateau enclosed by massive ramparts with a prominent separately fortified citadel or acropolis for the ruling elite, an upper town for artisans, and a lower town with smaller dwellings for the general populace. Its construction involved extensive stone quarrying, with ramparts reaching impressive widths and likely supporting towering wooden superstructures. Entrances were complex labyrinthine systems, often reinforced and narrowed, indicating advanced defensive strategies. Radiocarbon dates confirm monumental construction around 1800 BC. Water supply relied on springs and likely clay-lined rainwater pools. The sheer density of gradines suggests a sophisticated network of alliances, controlling arable lands, pastures, water, and vital trade routes. The economy of the Gradine was robust, based on cattle breeding and agriculture, with evidence of cereals, legumes, and vine growing at Moncodonja, indicating sophisticated agricultural practices. Their strategic location fostered active trade and far-reaching exchange, evidenced by loaf of bread idols, Baltic amber beads, and bronze weapons from distant Aegean, Rhone, and Italic regions. The main period of Gradina establishment in the northern Adriatic began dramatically at the end of the early Bronze Age, around 1800 BC. This era of inhumation burials in stone cists eventually gave way to widespread cremation during the late Bronze Age. While some Gradine were abandoned, others continued and new ones were founded. Critically, the Kavarner Islands and northern Dalmatia saw continuous Gradina occupation, contributing directly to the development of the Liburnian culture into the Iron Age and Roman period. underscoring the deep, enduring roots of settlement in this crossroads region. Our exploration of the European Bronze Age now turns to a vibrant and unique area: Romania, Moldova, and Bulgaria. These three nations, with distinct landscapes and research traditions, formed a crucial crossroads, significantly impacting and being shaped by surrounding cultures. Here, the boundaries of Europe met the vastness of the steppe, creating a rich tapestry of human experience. The Bronze Age here generally spans from 3000 or 2500 BC to 1200 or 1100 BC, though true tin bronze became widespread only from about 2000 or 1900 BC onwards. Importantly, the region's Neolithic cultures, like the Baden-Chernovoda Kotsofeni in the west-south and late Cucuteni Tripoli in the east, provided a rich foundation. Early influences from Greece and Turkey in the south foreshadowed the region's role as a cultural bridge. The early Bronze Age saw a distinctive shift in pottery. Elaborate incised or painted decoration disappeared, replaced by practical plastic knobs and ribs, especially in groups like Glina Schneckenberg and Ezero, likely from the south, such as asymmetrical jugs and askoi, spread from Bulgaria north into Transylvania, hinting at shared cultural currents. A widespread feature, seen as far south as Bulgaria and east to Moldova, was the brushed or combed lower bodies of vessels, perhaps designed to improve heat absorption or aid cooling. Significant metal finds from this period demonstrate extensive, long-range exchange networks for high-status goods. We find massive golden lock rings from Transylvania and Bulgaria, with exact parallels in distant Greece. Silver spiral lock rings appear across Romania, Bulgaria, Moldova, and Ukraine, underscoring the vastness of these early connections. Even animal bones, like imported fallow deer from Turkey found in Romania, highlight far-reaching cultural and trade connections. Burials from this period were mostly inhumations, often in small groups. Funerary structures varied: earthen stone mounds in western Transylvania, stone slab cists in eastern Transylvania and Moldova, and distinctive ochre or Yamnaya-type mound burials in southern Romania and Bulgaria, reflecting local traditions and incoming steppe influences. Regional differences apparent in the early Bronze Age became much more pronounced in the Middle Bronze Age. Pottery shapes and decoration exploded, often richly adorned with incised or stamped spiral meander motifs, once likely filled with colorful incrustation, creating vibrant, visually complex vessels. High-status goods from this period include magnificent golden daggers and elaborate silver axes, often discovered in hoards, signaling wealth accumulation and the emergence of elites. Long-distance connections continued, notably evidenced by bone salia, bridle parts, from cultures like Monteoru and Wittenberg. These round, plate-shaped cheek pieces likely originated in the eastern steppes, with distinctive spiral motifs traceable to the Ural region, and later even found in Mycenaean Greece, showcasing the profound flow of ideas and technology from the east into Europe. Burial rites varied greatly by culture. Large cemeteries have been excavated, revealing diverse practices from crouched inhumations to complex cremation deposits with figurines, even within the same culture like Monteoru, indicating a rich and varied spiritual landscape. Further east, the multi-cordoned ware culture continued inhumation burials, sometimes under earthen mounds, kurgans, maintaining links to older steppe traditions. While multi-layered tell sites were found in the Western Plains, providing evidence of combined wood-clay architecture and long-term occupation, many sites in Transylvania were not stratified, suggesting different settlement strategies. In Bulgaria, well-excavated Middle Bronze Age settlements are scarce, leading to interpretations of a more nomadic, mobile pastoralist economy, leaving fewer permanent traces but maintaining dynamic lifeways. The Late Bronze Age is marked by two distinct cultural groupings: a southeastern one, Noah, Sabatinovka, Kozlogeni, or NSC, and a western one, characterized by channeled pottery. Both have roots in the Middle Bronze Age, but became much more unified and widely distributed. In the West, channeled pottery became characteristic, often fired to a glossy black exterior, a change sometimes described as Hallstatization due to its continuation into the early Iron Age. The NSC complex, stretching from Moldavia into Transylvania, is often seen as an eastern intrusion, closely linked to the Shrubnaya culture of the steppes, suggesting a highly mobile pastoralist society that spread across vast distances. Long-distance connections are dramatically highlighted by Mycenaean rapiers discovered in Bulgaria and Romania, echoing distant Aegean civilizations. Conversely, distinctive pins from the Nua group have been found as far south as northern Greece, indicating a reciprocal flow of cultural items. Even gold vessels similar to those found in the Uluburun shipwreck have been found here, solidifying its place in the global Bronze Age trade network. In burial practices, Western-channeled pottery groups typically practiced cremation and urn burial, expanding from Central Europe. In contrast, NSC communities practiced inhumation in a crouched position, with minimal grave goods, maintaining uniformity across Moldavia and Transylvania, highlighting a persistent cultural divide in funerary rites. Fortified settlements, some enormous, like Cornești in southwestern Romania, with an outer rampart enclosing over 1,700 hectares, one of the largest in Bronze Age Europe, are known from this period, though internal structures remain largely unexplored. Further east in Moldova and Ukraine, a unique NSC settlement type are the so-called ash mounds, zolniki, mysterious formations interpreted as indicating a mobile pastoralist society due to their high animal bone content and presumed temporary use, a distinct adaptive strategy. The early Iron Age witnesses a dramatic shift. Overt steppe influence diminishes as early Hallstatt-channeled pottery groups spread eastward, closely connected to Western urnfield groups. This is evident in new bronze objects and very large fortifications, reflecting new power dynamics. While some local traditions endured, the eastern and southern orientation significantly diminishes as Western elements penetrate as far east as the steppes. Most burials now follow this westerly trend towards cremation and urns, signaling a profound cultural reorientation. Metal finds, though rarely from graves or settlements, are primarily known from hoards, a phenomenon well established since the Neolithic. Copper, gold, and silver were abundant in Romania and Bulgaria, though Moldova relied on imports, highlighting regional disparities. In the early Bronze Age, hoards of specific torques and shaft-hole axes are common, often containing complete single-type objects. All analyzed objects from this period are copper, sometimes with arsenic, with tin bronzes appearing only from the Middle Bronze Age onwards, marking a technological shift. The Middle Bronze Age introduced tin bronze and new features, richly decorated swords and daggers with riveted grips and socketed spearheads, signaling advancements in weaponry. A key difference in weaponry emerged. While Central Europe and Greece favored daggers and swords, the Balkan Carpathian region preferred distinct battle axes, traditional shaft-hole axes, and newly developed disc-butted axes. These axes, often intricately decorated, served as both weapons and prestige items, reflecting regional martial traditions. In the late Bronze Age and early Iron Age, hoards containing enormous quantities of metal became the main find category. With thousands of artifacts, new forms emerged, especially various types of socketed axes, suggesting mass production. Although iron is present in the early Iron Age and occasionally in Bronze Age contexts, it remained rare, with bronze still dominating, demonstrating a prolonged Bronze Age tradition. The exploitation of animal traction had major consequences for transportation, communication, and even warfare. The Carpathian region is known for early clay models of four-wheeled carts from the Baden complex, likely drawn by Bovids. These models, often found in early Bronze Age contexts, indicate both practical transport and the use of horses as traction animals, revolutionizing mobility. While practical, carts and chariots also held ideological meaning. Models, as symbols, carried transcendental significance, serving as transport for the transition to another world, especially when found in graves. They also likely marked a special social position, reflecting the expense of maintaining such vehicles, especially in the Middle Bronze Age when an elite social class emerged, demonstrating power through valuable treasures, massive fortifications, and public display of vehicles. In essence, the Bronze Age in Romania, Moldova, and Bulgaria was a story of continuous change, from early regional uniformity, giving way to pronounced cultural distinctions in the Middle Bronze Age, influenced by abundant resources and dynamic connections. Then, in the Late Bronze Age, Eastern and Southern influences became prominent, only to be largely replaced by a strong Western orientation in the early Iron Age. Our journey through the European Bronze Age leads us westward to the vibrant heartland of Central Europe, encompassing Czechia, Austria, Slovakia, and Hungary. Carved by the Danube and bordered by the Carpathians, this region was a dynamic melting pot where Eastern and Western influences converged. The natural environment is diverse. The Czech lands, Bohemia and Moravia, form a distinct geographical unit, threaded by crucial rivers. Moravia was a vital prehistoric north-south artery connecting the Mediterranean to the Baltic Sea via passes like the Moravian Gate. Austria, dominated by the Alps, offered fertile valleys and eastern lowlands nourished by the Danube, a major communication line linking it directly to the Carpathian Basin. Further east, Slovakia and Hungary formed the expansive Carpathian Basin, where the Danube and Tisa rivers fostered rapid cultural exchange. Crucially, this region boasted extraordinary natural resources, making it an early epicenter of metallurgy. Significant copper and gold deposits, likely exploited locally, fueled the Bronze Age. Local tin deposits also provided the final ingredient for bronze production, establishing Central Europe as a primary production zone and a forge of ancient innovation. The Bronze Age here divides into early, middle, late, and final periods. Early phases were shaped by external influences. From the Balkans, cultural groups introduced new pottery and burial traditions. The widespread bell beaker culture arrived in Slovakia and Budapest from southern Moravia, identifiable by its pottery and early cremation. From the northwest, the corded ware culture expanded into western Slovakia. These diverse influences gradually coalesced. In southwestern Slovakia, the Nitra culture emerged, showing social ranking through rich grave finds. The expanding Unitice culture then entered southwestern Slovakia, forming a regional variant that favored alpine ores. Further southeast, cultures like Kisapostag in Transdanubia embraced cremation, sometimes creating unique copper sheet artifacts. This was succeeded by groups known for their encrusted pottery and hoards containing prestigious tin jewelry. Between the Danube and Tisa rivers, cultures like Nagarev emerged in tell settlements, evolving into cultures like Vatya, renowned for large urn cemeteries and consistent cremation rites. Vatya settlements were often fortified, reflecting developing social hierarchy and defense needs. Bronze artifacts, including early sickles and spearheads, became abundant, signaling advancements in agriculture and warfare. The famed Kossiter hoards, rich caches of bronze and gold, mark the early Bronze Age's end, often interpreted as crisis or ritual hoards. The Tisa Basin was equally dynamic. Here, distinct cultures built massive tell settlements with organized houses and varied metal artifacts, demonstrating clear social differences. In the northern and eastern parts, persistent corded ware influence gave rise to the East Slovakian tumulus culture. Meanwhile, the Ottomani Fuzesabani complex, spanning beyond modern Hungary and Slovakia, developed into a core for significant cultural evolution. Its large cemeteries, like Nizhna Mishla, over 750 graves, reveal strict inhumation rites and lavish grave goods, gold, faience, pointing to powerful local elites. The early Bronze Age saw significant demographic growth. Advanced cultivation and cattle breeding formed the economic backbone. This prosperity led to a crucial shift to more permanent settlements, including open sites, tell mounds, and, crucially, fortified locations. These fortified settlements played a vital role in defense, control, craft production, and trade. Their varied sizes, including vast complexes with separate acropolises and sophisticated earthworks, bear witness to communal labor. Foreign goods underscore their importance as trade hubs. Farming's importance is confirmed by agricultural implements and grain storage pits. Animal breeding was vital, with analyses revealing livestock providing food, labor, and wealth. Spoked wheels and horse cheek pieces indicate increasing reliance on animal power for land transport, complementing riverine routes. The Middle Bronze Age, circa 1700 to 1300 BC, was a dynamic, relatively short period marked by metallurgical advancements. Hoards from sites like Drevenik and Foro reveal a surge in bronze objects, ornaments, weapons, and tools, pointing to heightened production and wealth accumulation. In the Danube region, the Middle Danubian tumulus culture mirrored its Western counterparts, using distinctive bi-ritual burials under tumuli. Settlements were typically open, featuring scattered rectangular post-built houses. This culture gradually transitioned into the Middle Danubian urnfield cultures, foreshadowing widespread changes. In the Danube-Tisa Divide and Tisa region, various regional groups, including the Pilani culture, emerged or evolved, showcasing internal cultural dynamism. The late and final Bronze Age, circa 1300 to 800 BC, witnessed the region's cultural development coalesce into a distinct identity. The high mountainous north of Slovakia became continuously settled for the first time. The period's defining characteristic was the pervasive presence of urnfield cultures, marked by a typical cremation funeral rite, almost exclusively using urns, a profound shift. This era also saw spectacular bronze metallurgy in large-scale production centers and flourishing trade networks, indicating a mature Bronze Age economy. It was a time dominated by powerful, often armed chieftains and prominent women, whose status was reflected in rich barrow burials. The southeastern urnfields emerged, broadly dividing into western groups, like Pilini, Central Europe's earliest urnfield culture, known for large urn cemeteries and intensive bronze production, and eastern parts, like the Gava culture on the Great Hungarian Plain, known for extensive cattle husbandry and metallurgical centers. Gava settlements were often sprawling and fortified, featuring unique longhouses and widespread craft production, suggesting an organized society. In mountainous northern Slovakia, the Lusatian culture expanded, forming the southern border of the European northern urnfield complex. It developed in stages, culminating in impressive new fortified settlements. Flat urn burial was characteristic. The Middle Danubian urnfield complex in southwestern Slovakia saw the emergence of cultures like the Velatica and Chaka, featuring unagglomerated settlements with small rectangular houses and significant fortified sites, providing evidence of metallurgical workshops and gold hoards. Pottery forms reflected cultural identity. Early Untitled had metallic sheen shapes. Middle Bronze Age favored intricate ornamentation. Urnfield pottery was generally uniform, with unique forms like Knovi's two-tiered vessels. Lusatian pottery often featured graphite blackening. Metalwork defined the era. Gold, copper, and later bronze artifacts appeared in graves, settlements, and hoards from the beginning. Crude copper was transported from the Alps as ring or rib ingots. The Middle Bronze Age saw a vast surge in metalwork, with new artifact types and advanced techniques like clay core casting. Bronze production peaked in the late and final Bronze Ages, with metal vessels and body armor, helmets, corselets, greaves, indicative of changing warfare and elite display. Cemeteries and hoards, particularly numerous in the urnfield period, underscore immense wealth and economic activity. Regional hoard concentrations in Moravia reveal Carpathian imports and Western influences, illustrating complex trade routes. Gold was prized from the Neolithic EBA transition, evolving from delicate wire to massive items. The urnfield period saw both forged and cast gold. Amber, predominantly Baltic, was popular in later EBA and tumulus culture, confirming vital long-distance connections. Glass and faience beads, likely Mediterranean imports, became more advanced, with the first polychrome beads appearing in the urnfield period, showcasing exotic luxury goods. Stone remained widely used for tools. Copper mining in the Alpine region from the EBA demanded timber, leading to deforestation. Salt exploitation at Hallstatt implied professionalism. Tin acquisition from Erzgebirge played a crucial role. Bronze working is well documented at settlements. Ceramic production and bone hornworking are attested, as is textile production by spindle whorls and loom weights. The urnfield culture's closing phase in Central Europe saw a dramatic increase in steppe and pre-Scythian, Cimmerian influences from the east, evidenced by hoards and artifact changes. This shift ushered in new metal production, changes in warfare, advancements in horse harness, new animal breeding, and evolving religious practices. In Western Hungary and Slovakia, these influences mark the final Bronze Age transition, leading directly into the evolution of the eastern provinces of the Hallstatt culture, ushering in the Iron Age. Our journey into Bronze Age Europe turns eastward, spanning from the Baltic to the Black Sea, and from the Carpathians deep into the Eurasian steppe. This narrative focuses on customs influenced by climate, resources, and vibrant exchanges between stationary farmers and nomadic herders, revealing how these peripheries were intricately linked, significantly contributing to the entire continent's development. We begin in modern-day Poland, a Central European territory shaped by ancient glaciers, featuring northern Baltic plains, central uplands, and southern mountain ranges like the Sudeten and Carpathians. Major rivers like the Oder and Vistula served as natural highways for cultural exchange, while mountain passes like the Moravian Gate ensured southern connections. Poland held a uniquely valuable Bronze Age resource, amber. Abundant along the Baltic coast, particularly in the Vistula Delta, this gold of the north fueled vast trade networks across Europe, reaching the distant Mediterranean. Poland's significant climatic divide influenced its distinct cultural zones. Archaeologically, Poland is divided into three key zones: a western zone integrated into the broader European Bronze Age, a southeastern zone influenced by the Carpathian Basin, and a northeastern zone, which remained more isolated, maintaining para-Neolithic ways of life centered on gathering and fishing. The Bronze Age in Poland, around 2300 to 800 BC, saw remarkable cultural continuity, new social organization marked by stratification, and a rising military aristocracy. These communities engaged in extensive cultural contacts, valuing prestige and demanding goods from strategic or exotic materials like metals and, crucially, amber. They built stable settlements, often with central fortified strongholds, supported by well-organized agriculture and diversified manufacturing. In the early Bronze Age, 2300 to 2000 BC, the bell beaker culture spurred change, leading to early traces of the Untitled culture in Lower Silesia. Little Poland saw the flourishing of the Mierzanowice culture. Around 2000 BC, the Untitled culture transformed. Access to local metal ores and widespread tin-bronze adoption ushered in highly developed metallurgy and undeniable social stratification, dramatically visible in rich barrow burials, or princely tumuli, yielding bronze weapons, gold, and Baltic amber. Settlements grew more complex, with fortified centers like Bruszczewo in Great Poland, whose main defensive structures, moats and palisades, date back to the 20th century BC. This remarkable site, with specialized craft production and long-term occupation, points to a highly organized community, perhaps even a proto-state, strategically positioned along the vital amber trade route. East of the Vistula, the northeast remained largely para-Neolithic. The Middle Bronze Age brought new cultural trends: the Nordic culture from the northwest and the tumulus culture from the southwest, known for widespread barrow burials. Eastern Poland continued its distinct path, with the diverse Tyszczeniec culture. The Late Bronze Age and Hallstatt period, 1400–1300 to 400 BC, were largely defined by the expansion of the Lusatian culture, the northeasternmost branch of the pan-European Urnfield cultures. The Lusatian culture brought unprecedented settlement stability, with communities permanently inhabiting microregions and establishing incredibly long-lived cemeteries. This period saw significant population growth, leading to networks of stable rural communities. A spectacular example is the fortified settlement of Biskupin in Kujavia, dating to the 8th century BC. This meticulously planned compact settlement, with its 13 rows of identical wooden houses, speaks to a highly organized society capable of mobilizing collective effort, though remarkably, without clear evidence of a powerful elite within the settlement itself. Across Poland, the economy relied on intensive agriculture, cereals, leguminous plants, dominant animal husbandry, cattle, pigs, sheep, goats, and flourishing specialized crafts including bone and hornworking, carpentry using metal tools, weaving, and crucially, amberworking. Moving further east, we enter the vast regions of Ukraine and South Russia, a monumental landscape profoundly shaped by its distinct ecological zones: the southern steppe belt, the central forest steppe, and the northern mixed forest zone. Climate change had immediate and profound consequences here, especially in the steppe, driving constant adaptation and shifts in human lifeways. The foundations of the Bronze Age here lie in the Neolithic period, mid-5th millennium BC, when copper working first emerged. In the steppe, cultures like Sredny Stog and Kovalinsk saw a significant intensification of animal husbandry. This period is also critical for the appearance of Kurgan burials, distinctive burial mounds, which, along with grave goods, clearly indicated social stratification. Early copper objects were largely imported. The true onset of the Bronze Age in this immense region is marked by the emergence of the Yamnaya, or pit grave culture, late 4th to early 3rd millennium BC. Developing directly from Neolithic cultures, Yamnaya expanded rapidly across the vast steppe from the southern Bug to the lower Volga. Its defining feature was massive burial mounds, often containing bodies and sometimes even wagon parts, signaling high status and early wheeled transport. Yamnaya culture also saw the first widespread appearance of arsenical bronzes. Crucially, the domestication of the horse for riding and packing is widely believed to have occurred in the North Pontic area at this time, an innovation profoundly impacting mobility as the climate became increasingly drier. Around the mid-3rd millennium BC, the Yamnaya culture was largely succeeded by the Katakomnaya, catacomb grave, culture. Its characteristic feature was unique catacomb graves, burial niches accessed by a vertical shaft beneath the kurgan. While many graves were relatively egalitarian, some, particularly those containing wagons or smithing tools, point to continued social differentiation and specialized craftsmanship. Metal artifacts included daggers, axes, and awls. Following the catacomb culture, the KMK, multi-cordoned ware culture, emerged in the late 3rd and early 2nd millennia BC. Metalware became more refined. The KMK period saw a notable increase in settlement sites, including fortified ones. Animal husbandry remained dominant, with the discovery of bone-bridled cheek pieces further solidifying the horse's critical role. The Middle to Late Bronze Age witnessed the rise of the Srubnaya, timber grave culture, a vast complex spanning the steppe and forest steppe from the Volga to the Crimea. Named for its characteristic timber-lined grave chambers beneath kurgans, most Srubnaya burials were simpler earth pits with minimal grave goods, suggesting a more egalitarian social structure compared to some earlier elites. Metallurgy flourished with a mix of tin bronzes and arsenical antimony bronzes, likely sourced from rich copper deposits in the Urals. Specialized metalworking settlements indicate large-scale production. Animal husbandry was paramount, with transhumans likely playing a significant role. After the mid-2nd millennium BC, the Sabatynovka culture emerged in the western steppe, showing extensive connections to the Caucasus and beyond. This period saw a marked increase in both the number and size of more permanent settlements. Critically, the widespread deposition of bronze hoards became common, a practice reflecting deep ritual significance and economic shifts also seen across much of Old Europe. Closely related, the Nuwa culture spread across the forest steppes further west, sharing many characteristics with Sabatynovka. The close of the Bronze Age around 1200 BC brought fundamental changes, coinciding with broader transformations across Europe and the Mediterranean. This period saw the emergence of new cultures like Belozerka, Belogrudovka, and Bondarika. This era is crucial as it marks the beginnings of true horse-borne nomadism, laying the essential groundwork for the Iron Age. Archaeological finds from the Chernogorovka and Novocherkassk groups, 10th-8th centuries BC, are often considered Proto-Scythian, characterized by warrior elites and horse harness, showing distinct Near Eastern influences. The Bronze Age in these vast eastern lands tells a compelling story of adaptation, innovation, and profound change. From Poland's vital role as an amber hub and its early complex societies, to the immense steppes where pastoralism and horse domestication fundamentally reshaped human existence, this region stands as a testament to humanity's ability to thrive in diverse environments and forge far-reaching connections. From the icy Barents Sea to the Baltic and North Seas, Bronze Age Scandinavia was a land shaped by its unique geography and, above all, by the sea. While its southern reaches were deeply intertwined with continental Europe, the far north retained an ancient Stone Age way of life. Yet, across this diverse region, a distinctive culture emerged, one of remarkable metalwork, monumental burials, longhouses, and enigmatic rock carvings. Scandinavia can be broadly divided into three zones. The south, Denmark, parts of Sweden, boasted fertile lands ideal for agriculture. Central Sweden and southern Norway offered arable zones along coasts and lakes, but pine forests dominated. The north and inland mountain zones were more challenging for farming, favoring a continued Stone Age economy of hunting and fishing. This geographical divide directly influenced culture. Bronze artifacts were overwhelmingly concentrated in the south, becoming scarcer northward. The south was undoubtedly the beating heart of Nordic Bronze Age culture. The Nordic Bronze Age is best defined by four remarkable characteristics. First, its bronzes. Despite lacking local copper, the region became incredibly rich in metalwork. The south, in particular, boasts one of Europe's highest densities of bronzes per square kilometer. Nordic bronzes developed a unique, recognizable style. Second, the ubiquitous burial mounds and cairns. Tens of thousands dot the landscape. In the south, they were built of turves. Further north, boulders formed impressive cairns. These monumental graves often follow ancient land routes and coastlines, their clusters indicating population centers. Third, the compelling rock carvings. Where suitable rock surfaces existed, particularly in western Sweden and southern Norway, these artworks flourished. Ships, sun symbols, animals, and human forms complete these enigmatic narratives. Fourth, the longhouse. These large timber structures served as the cornerstone of Bronze Age settlements, defining a domestic tradition that would last for millennia. For a long time, the apparent absence of substantial houses led to speculation about a nomadic lifestyle. But then, archaeological breakthroughs revealed large longhouses, a tradition evolving into the iconic three-aisled structures that would define Scandinavian farmsteads for the next 2 millennia. These timber buildings, rarely lasting more than 30 to 40 years, were typically oriented west-east, with living quarters at one end and occasionally integrated byres for cattle. Most settlements consisted of 1 or 2 farms, often supplemented by four-post structures for fodder storage. Simple bronze production was widespread, but highly specialized products like swords and trumpets were crafted in only a few elite workshops. Agriculture was the backbone of the economy, with barley, emmer, and spelt as staple cereals. Cattle and sheep were primary domestic animals, with bovids playing a crucial role as draft animals and sources of wealth. Early fields show irregular plots, plowed multiple times, but not yet permanent. The settlement system itself was often mobile, with farms shifting within a defined territory, perhaps when local soil nutrients became exhausted. Unlike many European societies, the Nordic Bronze Age left a continuous record of its burials. Inhumation was standard until Period 3, with bodies often placed in hollowed-out oak tree trunk coffins. Then, a fundamental shift occurred. Cremation became the norm, with bodies burned and remains placed in urns or simple pits. This change meant a significant reduction in grave goods, with men often characterized only by their toilet equipment, razors, tweezers, and awls. The extraordinary preservation conditions in the wet cores of some Jutland mounds have provided unparalleled insights into Bronze Age life. We have fully dressed individuals, like the Egdved girl in her famed miniskirt, and the Skridstrup girl with her elaborate coiffure. These finds offer a window into their clothing, hairstyles, and even manicure. Men's attire included piled caps, cloaks, and kilts. Beyond clothing, these anaerobic conditions preserved wooden tools, remarkable furniture like stools with bronze fittings, and unique items like the hafted palstav from Guldhøj. While most graves contained few metal objects, a clear social stratification is evident in the princely burials. The Kungbjörn's mound at Höga in Sweden contained an oak coffin with a gold-studded sword, gold-plated fibulae, and other rich artifacts for a cremated man. The Looshøj burials on Finn are among the richest, yielding imported bronze vessels, amber, gold toggles, and even a rare iron finger ring, along with the remains of a wagon. The enormous effort and wealth invested in these burials point to powerful elites. Other graves stand out for their unusual contents. The Videgård mound near Copenhagen contained a leather purse, with items suggesting a sorcerer or shaman. Later in the Bronze Age, ship-shaped stone settings became popular burial monuments, primarily containing urns. Nordic craftsmanship reached exceptional levels, particularly in metalwork, primarily through the sophisticated lost wax casting process. Even complex objects like the Trundholm sun chariot, with its bronze horse and gleaming sun disk, and the powerful trumpet-like lures, some of the largest cast bronzes, were created using remarkably advanced techniques. These objects, alongside others like elegant bronze chains, were distinct Nordic inventions. The sheer volume of imported metals suggests sophisticated trade networks. Initially, copper came from Austrian mines, later shifting to the Inn Valley in Period 4, and Swiss metal in Period 5. Gold was also imported and was disproportionately abundant in South Scandinavia. The sword was the ultimate emblem of the Bronze Age, with over 2,700 found in southern Scandinavia alone. Early Nordic swords drew inspiration from imported types, but soon developed unique local variations. Axes evolved from simple flanged axes to sophisticated socketed versions, while spearheads remained characteristic. Beyond weapons, the Nordic Bronze Age produced a stunning array of ornaments and tools. The two-piece fibula was a local invention, developing into elaborate creations: small bronze belt containers, intricate pins, toggles, belt discs, and ornate arm rings and anklets showcased the artistry. Even as metal dominated, flint remained important, with specialized production sites for high-quality reaping blades. The ornamentation itself is a hallmark of Nordic culture. Early geometric patterns gave way to the dominant spiral motif in Period 2, a symbol later transformed into concentric circles and radiating stars. The bird sun boat motif, borrowed from Central European urnfields, became a powerful symbol, frequently appearing on razors and neck rings, underscoring the deep symbolic value of these objects. The precise use of compasses and geometry in these designs is remarkable. Figurines offer rare glimpses into their beliefs. The Trundholm sun chariot, with its horse and sun disk, likely represents a ritual procession. Other hoards contain small human and animal figurines, depicting men with axes and iconic horned helmets, and even female acrobats. These suggest a complex pantheon and ritual practices. The sea was undoubtedly the main artery of communication, evidenced by the distribution of burial monuments and the countless ship depictions. On land, simple tracks connected communities, with impressive wooden trackways built over bogs to facilitate movement. Finally, the hoards and votive deposits are perhaps the most striking feature of the Nordic Bronze Age. Nowhere else in Europe were such masses of intricately made objects deliberately deposited. These hoards, containing weapons, tools, ornaments, or mixtures of all three, were often placed in sets. These extraordinary depositions underscore not only the high level of craftsmanship, but also the profound ritual meaning invested in these objects, reflecting a society deeply connected to its land, its beliefs, and the ever-present sea. The Nordic Bronze Age, a distinct and vibrant chapter in European prehistory, was a story of adaptation, innovation, and a powerful connection to the natural world. Germany's Bronze Age, a period of remarkable cultural evolution, was deeply shaped by its diverse geography, from the Bavarian Alps in the south to the sandy northern plains. Major rivers like the Danube and Rhine served as vital conduits, fostering connections and cultural exchange across vast distances. Archaeologists typically divide the German Bronze Age into three principal phases. Early Bronze Age, EBA, from the late 3rd or early 2nd millennium BC to around 1600 BC, characterized by flat graves with bodies in a crouched position. Middle Bronze Age, MBA, from 1600 to approximately 1300 BC, defined by inhumations beneath large burial mounds. Late Bronze Age, LBA, also known as the Urnfield period, from 1300 to roughly 800 BC, featuring widespread cremation with remains in urns within vast burial grounds. Around 2000 to 1800 BC, the early Bronze Age saw the rise of powerful new cultures across Central Europe, marked by ceremonial weapons and the introduction of tin bronze. This era witnessed the emergence of influential chieftains, whose influence stretched from the lower Danube to southern Scandinavia. The distinctive Untitled culture spread significantly across central Germany. While most of these graves were modest flat burials, a striking new phenomenon emerged in its later phase: isolated monumental princely graves, examples like Leubingen and Helmsdorf. Dating to the 20th to 19th centuries BC, these massive burial mounds contained lavish offerings for a single individual, showcasing immense wealth through gold objects, bronze weapons, and exotic halberds. This concentration of wealth may be linked to proximity to vital copper deposits, salt extraction, or control over vast trade networks. The transition to the Middle Bronze Age, or tumulus period, was fluid. This era is defined by the proliferation of inhumation burials beneath distinctive roundish oval mounds, often grouped into vast cemeteries. Each mound likely belonged to a small family group. Grave goods reveal personal equipment. Men were typically buried with weapons, while women's graves were rich in intricate costume ornaments, including popular Baltic amber. The Middle Bronze Age saw the rapid spread of innovations, including formidable new weapons and practical tools. Crucially, the horse gained significant importance as a transport animal. Despite these developments, grave goods generally suggest a largely egalitarian society, with only subtle indicators of social ranking. While MBA settlements are less understood, this was a period of widespread settlement expansion. Higher areas and hillsites were increasingly settled, and the Alps saw a flourishing mountain pasture economy, likely linked to intensive copper mining. The Late Bronze Age, the Urnfield period, witnessed a profound and revolutionary shift in funerary practices as cremation became dominant from the 13th century BC onward. The deceased were cremated, and their remains meticulously collected and interred in ceramic urns. This dramatic move likely stemmed from a fundamental change in religious beliefs, perhaps tied to new concepts of social status and identity, and new potent symbols, like waterbirds. The LBA brought greater cultural standardization across larger geographical areas, especially in its distinctive metal forms. Regional groups were still distinguishable, such as the Rhenish-Swiss Eastern France, RSFO group, and the widespread Lausitz culture dominating central and eastern Germany. The Lausitz culture, successor to the Unyitsitsa culture, developed a distinct cultural independence lasting over 9 centuries. It is characterized by vast urn fields, some containing thousands of graves. While these graves typically yielded mostly pottery, a dense network of fortified settlements also arose, functioning as crucial centers for metalwork. The Lausitz culture gradually declined around 500 to 400 BC, influenced by worsening climate, soil erosion, the Eastern Hallstatt culture, and the advent of iron technology. Northern Germany was a vibrant part of the distinctive Nordic Bronze Age cultural sphere. Early phases show strong connections to southern metal-using cultures like the Untitled. A distinct development was the Sögelwolde culture, characterized by male inhumations in burial mounds containing short swords, axes, and golden wire rings. This period also yields enigmatic artifacts like the Nebra sky disk, considered the oldest concrete representation of the heavens or an ancient calendar. The flourishing of the Nordic Bronze Age, periods 2 to 3, brought magnificent finds of high technical and artistic quality from large burial mounds, often serving as family burial sites for an egalitarian, agriculturally oriented society. While influenced by Central Europe, the Nordic Bronze Age developed its own unique forms, including the very first fibulae and distinctive razor knives. Objects like the Danson folding chair or powerful sickle swords even hint at connections to Mycenaean, Near Eastern, and Egyptian models. From period 3, a new religious movement brought about the shift from inhumation to cremation in the north, becoming exclusive from period 4. Urnfields here often contained only small grave goods, with larger objects increasingly found in hoards deposited in bogs as treasures of the dead. These hoards offer a wealth of information, including spectacular items like trumpet-like lures and large Hirschsprung-type shields. The Late Bronze Age gradually transitions into the Iron Age Jastorf culture, with crucial connections to the later Germanic tribes. Bronze Age Germany saw 3 main settlement types: open settlements, fortified settlements, hill forts, and settlements on damp ground, lakeside or pile dwellings. Open settlements were typically self-sufficient farming communities on fertile soils or slopes with good water access. Early Bronze Age examples reveal basic village structures of trapezoidal longhouses. By the LBA, settlements were often concentrated on fertile soils, with smaller rectangular houses. In the northwest, the single farmstead with a large Wohnstall house, a combined house and barn, was typical, housing both people and cattle. Fortified settlements proliferated across Central Europe during distinct stronghold horizons. The LBA saw a resurgence of highly developed forts, especially in southern and eastern Germany, home of the Lausitz culture. These forts, protected by solid ramparts and ditches with strong gates, ranged from small to massive. Many, like Hunischenberg, show clear evidence of military activity and served as crucial concentration centers for political, social, economic, and religious life. The pile dwellings or lakeside settlements continued a Neolithic tradition, thriving particularly during dry periods. Sites like Forschner and others on Lake Constance reveal systematically laid out villages, protected by breakwaters and palisades, with rows of houses built on posts or low mounds. These were true villages, supporting hundreds of people, and their economies were based on mixed agriculture. The Late Bronze Age saw a clear vertical hierarchization of society, though often subtly veiled. While most graves were modestly furnished with pottery, a distinct upper social stratum clearly existed. These elite burials, often of adult men, were characterized by elaborate construction and rich grave goods. The central figure of LBA society was often the sword-bearer. Female graves were distinguished by elaborate costume ornaments, ornate headbands, glistening neck rings, elegant bracelets, fibulae, and exquisite gold discs, amber, and vibrant blue glass beads. Children's graves, often containing miniatures and feeding vessels, mirrored the grave goods of women, suggesting the inheritance of status. Significantly, items of bronze body armor, helmets, corselets, greaves, and shields are conspicuously absent from graves. Instead, they are found in fragments in wet places like rivers and bogs, or in hoards, powerfully suggesting ritual deposition rather than burial with the deceased. The Neckarsulm Cemetery in Württemberg, composed exclusively of male inhumations, many of them sword-bearers, strongly suggests the presence of a distinct warrior society, set apart by their robust physiques. From the centralized power of early Bronze Age chieftains to the widespread cremation practices of the Urnfield period, Germany's Bronze Age was a dynamic era of cultural evolution. Its diverse landscapes fostered distinct regional identities, while simultaneously facilitating broad pan-European connections through trade, shared technologies, and evolving social structures. The region spanning from the southern Central Eastern Alps to the fertile Po Valley was a vital cultural bridge between Central European and Mediterranean civilizations. Its diverse terrain includes prealpine lowlands, alpine valley corridors, and mountain massifs. The towering Alps served as ancient arteries, their valleys crucial communication routes for people, materials, and ideas since the Mesolithic. Otzi, the Iceman's discovery, highlights this environment's accessibility. The vast region boasts varied climates, from moderate warmth to harsh subarctic conditions. To the south, the expansive Po Valley Plain offered ideal conditions for early human settlement, perfect for agriculture and animal husbandry. Lake Garda, at the Plain Mountain Nexus, fostered exceptional human activity due to its unique microclimate. The northern Adriatic coast also facilitated vital long-distance trading with the Aegean and eastern Mediterranean, with major rivers like the Po and Adige acting as preferred highways. Precise Bronze Age chronology is an ongoing archaeological endeavor, greatly aided by tree ring studies from lake-dwelling settlements. Early Bronze Age phases like L'Avignon II date as early as 2077 BC. Later EBA and Middle Bronze Age phases are defined by detailed geology studies. The MBA was intensely active, while the Late Bronze Age saw a significant increase in precious bronze objects in hoards and graves. The EBA in northern Italy is marked by the sudden rise of the Polada culture, concentrated around Lake Garda's southern banks. This culture, shaped by local traditions and the international bell beaker phenomenon, experienced rapid population growth and expansion. North of the Alps, the EBA saw two major cultural groups: the richly decorated Bodensee group, northeast, and the Rhone group, southwest, with rich graves showing long-distance relations, even with Mycenae. MBA influence from the south particularly the Po Plains Terra Mare complex, is evident in specific alpine forms. By the LBA, the North Alpine forelands strongly relate to the tumulus Bronze Age of Germany, with increasing numbers of precious bronze objects. The Bronze Age in this region is defined by two primary settlement models: enigmatic pile dwellings, palafit, and meticulously planned terra mare villages. Both emerged from significant demographic growth in previously sparsely populated areas, indicating a profound cultural link. Pile-dwelling settlements were typically found in waterlogged areas like lake shores and peat bogs. Excavations at Fiave show their evolution from isolated piles in the early Bronze Age to more complex grid structures. Sites like Peschiera, peaking in the LBA, became major centers of bronze production and commerce, lending its name to a chronological period and signaling continental-scale metal circulation. The Urnfield culture, particularly the RSFO group, dominated the Swiss plateau and Jura in the LBA, characterized by distinct pottery and bronze items from wetland sites. By the MBA, the Terra Mare phenomenon was deeply rooted across the central Po Plain. These were large settlements, often fortified. After a brief formative period, their growth was rapid. Early Terra Mare were small, but by the LBA they became proto-urban centers, some reaching 20 hectares and housing 1,000 people. Their layout was surprisingly urban, with regular rectangular spaces for roads and houses, featuring pile dwellings on dry land. Impressive fortifications, like the enormous earthwork ramparts at Santa Rosa di Poviglio, highlight their structured nature. However, the Terra Mare system deteriorated after 1200 BC, leading to a surprisingly swift collapse. While environmental and climatic changes are often cited, political instability across the Mediterranean during the 12th century BC may also have played a significant role. Yet this crisis didn't affect all areas equally. Regions like the large valleys around Verona and the Po Delta saw immediate relocation and economic reorganization. Here, Fradecina di Fratapolesine emerged as a dominant force. Founded in the late Bronze Age, this sprawling 20-hectare village saw its greatest development between the 12th and 11th centuries BC. Fradecina became an extraordinary hub of artisan production, specializing in metalworking, bone, deer horn, and especially glass. It was a major trading center, connecting the Italian peninsula with the eastern Mediterranean, evidenced by Mycenaean pottery, amber, ivory, ostrich eggs, and glass paste. This dynamic hub also linked with the Alps. In eastern Trentino, Acquafredda thrived with proto-industrial scale metallurgical production. While pile dwellings and terra mare dominated, other settlement models existed. In Trentino Alto Adige, sites dramatically appeared on rocky spurs, some fortified, like Sociastel. In eastern northern Italy, the Castellieri settlements on hills, fortified with imposing defensive works, became characteristic, comparable to those in Istria. Exceptional preservation in waterlogged wetland settlements provides an unparalleled window into Bronze Age life. Tree ring studies date settlements and offer insights into past climate and sophisticated woodland management. For instance, Zugsumpf 1, a large LBA settlement, housed hundreds of people in up to 120 houses arranged in regular rows, revealing complex social and economic organization. The highly fortified Wasserburg of Bad Buchau served as a crucial central place. Naturally defended sites like prominent promontories and hilltops were also crucial, particularly when fortifications became common in the late early Bronze Age and late Bronze Age. The Alpine Rhine Valley boasts numerous fortified settlements like Wartau-Ochsenberg and Montlingerberg, strategically placed along vital communication routes to control access and transit. In the mountainous Alps, high-altitude sites suggest seasonal use for agro-pastoral economies, reflecting the ancient Alpine economy. Fortifications on many sites, such as the Friaga Wald Hill Fort, emphasize their role as territorial markers, often related to ore extraction and metallurgy. The primary subsistence economy in these lake-dwelling communities was based on crops, primarily cereals and pulses. Gathering wild plants was common. The careful husbandry of cattle, pigs, sheep, and goats provided essential animal protein, with hunting playing a minor supplementary role. Innovations like spelt and intensified cattle breeding contributed to a robust agrarian economy. In the Alps, the economy adapted, Barley was the most common crop, and hardy sheep and goats the most suitable livestock. Vertical transhumance, seasonal movement to high mountain pastures, must have been vital. Numerous high-altitude sites confirm seasonal use of alpine meadows for extensive agropastoral activities. Beyond agropastoralism, mining for metal ores, particularly copper, was a defining alpine economic activity. Ore-rich regions of the Central Alps likely supplied copper to the pre-alpine lowlands. While initial analyses suggested non-local copper, later evidence confirms large-scale smelting and production of local copper in the late Bronze Age and early Iron Age. Insights into Bronze Age society and ideology come primarily from sacred funerary sites and enigmatic ritual deposits. While cultic buildings are rare, recurring finds like symbolic crescent horns or large bronze keys with waterbird decoration suggest ritual activity within settlements. The intentional placement of weapons and precious bronze objects in watercourses, lakes, and high mountain passes was a widespread and deeply significant ritual practice. Numerous daggers, axes, and pins have been found in alpine locations at astonishingly high altitudes. Sacred springs, like the Mauritius Spring in St. Moritz, also served as locations for votive offerings, with metal items like swords deposited within larchwood tubes. The ancient tradition of burnt offering places also begins in the Bronze Age. From the early Bronze Age, funerary rituals reveal a clear gender subdivision. In cemeteries like Singen, female inhumations typically include ornaments, while male inhumations feature weapons, especially daggers, reflecting gender-related grave deposits. The richest burials, like Thun Rensenbühl, with their over-endowments, indicate emerging elites. In the late Bronze Age, as in other urnfield cultures, cremation became the dominant burial rite. Social status, often marked by the wealth of bronze objects like impressive swords for males and elaborate jewelry for females, was also indicated by sets of drinking vessels. Exceptional assemblages of drinking bowls were present in cremation graves, such as in Lausanne-Vidi. Overall, the Bronze Age in northern Italy and the Central Alps presents a dynamic and culturally rich tapestry. While exhibiting unique regional characteristics, it maintained strong, vital connections with the wider Italian peninsula and Central Europe. The Balearic Archipelago, with its shimmering turquoise waters, holds a unique prehistoric human story. Ancient geographers named Ibiza and Formentera the Pine Islands, and Majorca and Menorca the Gymnesian Islands, the cornerstone of Balearic prehistory. Majorca boasts diverse landscapes. Menorca is smaller, flatter, and a true sea bastion over 200 kilometers from mainland Catalonia. For decades, the monumental Talaiotic culture, with talaiots, navetas, sanctuaries, and talls, was considered a synchronous Bronze Age phenomenon. However, systematic radiocarbon dating now places talaiots specifically in the early Iron Age, 9th to 6th centuries BC. This reevaluation means much pre-Talaiotic material is actually the complex Balearic Bronze Age. Human colonization in the Balearics began surprisingly late, around the late 3rd millennium BC, coinciding with Western Europe's Bronze Age dawn. Majorca was the first island to witness stable human populations, about 2400 to 2300 BC. These pioneering groups often sought refuge in natural caves and rock shelters, some doubling as sacred burial sites. Small open-air settlements with simple huts also existed, indicating seasonal occupation and ingenious subsistence strategies like animal herding. Early artifacts, such as bell beaker ceramic vessels and hints of local copper metallurgy, suggest colonists quickly leveraged copper outcrops. As the 2nd millennium BC began with the Epibel Beaker-Dolmen group, the human footprint expanded, reaching Menorca and even the Pine Islands. Settlements continued with open-air villages and cave occupations. While natural caves remained sacred, new tomb types appeared, including early hypogea, artificial caves carved into rock, prominent in Menorca. Around the 19th century BC, the islands saw their first dolmens, small rectangular chambers covered by stone and earth mounds, found in southern Menorca and northeast Majorca. These communal tombs served as multi-generational resting places, often with modest grave goods. Striking similarities between Balearic bell beaker pottery and late beaker styles in Catalonia, as well as distinct bone buttons common in Catalonia and southeast France, suggest initial communities came from northeast Iberia and the Gulf of Lion. Their funerary architecture, like the Balearic dolmens, also shows strong parallels with megalithic tombs in Languedoc. Why were the Balearics colonized so much later? Relative distance and the crucial absence of raw materials for traditional polished stone tools likely played a significant role. However, these limitations were overcome by the late 3rd millennium BC. Metallurgy advanced to exploit local copper, and recycling metal lessened dependence on a continuous supply. Simultaneously, the secondary products revolution, harnessing animals for milk, wool, and traction, dramatically increased agricultural productivity and ensured subsistence autonomy. Yet, technological readiness wasn't the sole catalyst. A compelling hypothesis suggests increasing economic exploitation and social violence on the mainland during the 3rd and early 2nd millennia BC acted as a powerful spur. Groups sought refuge in these peripheral islands, yearning to establish new, more peaceful social relationships. The striking lack of fortifications, near absence of specialized weapons, and continued prevalence of collective burial rites all suggest a society that actively inhibited economic and political asymmetry, fostering egalitarianism. Around 1600 BC, the archaeological record reveals the striking naviform group. This period is defined by magnificent elongated buildings, up to 15 meters long, with distinctive cyclopean stone walls, and a unique pointed boat-shaped apse, like colossal stone ships resting on land. These naviform structures, found at sites like Klosos de Cangaia and Sospitalet Vel, served as versatile spaces for craft production, daily living, and vital storage. The introduction of naviform settlements coincided with reduced use of natural caves for daily life. However, some, like Escarix and Esmusol, gained profound new significance as ritual sites. Between 1600 to 1450 BC, these subterranean spaces became stages for hidden ceremonies. Deliberate stalactite breakage, solemn deposition of offerings, including rare human hand and foot bones, and magic rites conducted around hearths deep within the cave's darkness. Funerary contexts remained abundant and varied. Alongside older tomb types, new structures emerged, including hypogea with complex internal compartments and unique round monuments resembling tumuli, found only on Minorca. Critically, many natural caves, such as the sacred Escarix, were sealed off with monumental cyclopean stone walls, transforming them into multi-generational burial sites, enduring testaments to familial and communal ties. In terms of portable artifacts, pottery production evolved, with sturdy barrel-shaped storage jars and globular kitchenware becoming common. Crucial evidence confirms that bronze artifacts were now being manufactured directly on the islands. Boneworking also flourished, producing practical awls, needles, and the very characteristic V-perforated buttons made from bone or pig tusks. Detailed study of thousands of human remains from sites like Covet Escarix offers unprecedented insights into naviform social organization. This communal tomb housed around 200 individuals, representing a social unit likely compatible with a single naviform house. Analysis revealed a slight male-to-female imbalance, lower life expectancy for women, and clear sexual dimorphism. Some research suggests possible female infanticide as a form of birth control. Despite these internal dynamics, naviform society appears remarkably homogeneous in its artifact production, suggesting autonomous subsistence units cooperating in collective herding farming, notably without evidence of political centralization or hierarchy. Within this generally egalitarian panorama, certain individuals held unique mediating social positions, particularly in the profound realm of belief systems. The extraordinary finds from Esmusol Cave in Minorca, accessed only via a perilous cliff face, provide a unique window. A hidden inner chamber yielded fragile wooden carvings, including two depicting astonishing anthropomorphic and zoanthropomorphic figures. These, along with other ritualistic deposits, suggest secret ceremonies conducted by a small, select number of people, perhaps part of an initiation process for individuals responsible for social and politico-ideological mediation. These mediators would have played their roles during the late naviform or early proto-Talaiotic phases. The 2 centuries straddling the first millennium BC, known as the Proto-Taliatic period, represent a crucial transition in Balearic prehistory. Settlements became more compact, almost urban areas, with diverse house plans clustering intimately around a new type of central structure. A large, tall stone building, likely an early form or direct ancestor of the mighty Talayot. Sites like Esfigueral de Son Real and Silot exemplify this trend, powerfully foreshadowing the concentrated fortified settlements of the later Talayotic period. Funerary practices during this time began to show distinct regional divergence. Both Majorca and Minorca continued to use natural caves for their sacred burials. However, Minorca maintained an astonishing abundance and diversity of funerary structures. This period saw the emergence of truly distinctive burial mounds, colossal stone buildings, boat-shaped or apsidal, with elongated chambers, often on 2 levels, designed for the communal burial of hundreds of bodies, as seen in the breathtaking Nevada de Tudans. Grave goods became more numerous and strikingly varied. Alongside familiar bone buttons and small pottery, we find gleaming bronze ornaments, tools, and sometimes precious iron or tin objects. Most remarkably, archaeologists have unearthed delicate tubular wood or antler containers with lids, found particularly in Cova des Carriques, explicitly designed to hold human hair. This intricate ritual of post-mortem hair treatment suggests a new, profound symbolic importance given to the human head. The intensive contacts between communities continued, evidenced by the broad range of shared artifact types across both islands. The use of all these diverse tomb types and burial practices ended abruptly by the late 9th or early 8th century BC. This period of dramatic change likely coincided with the ritual deposition of valuable objects in hard-to-reach, often sacred places within natural caves. The Bronze Age in the Balearics was drawing to a close, paving the way for the monumental Talayotic period, where the focus dramatically shifted from celebrating ancestors in distant private funerary rites to the public affirmation of the community through the construction of monumental talayots and the consolidation of compact, visible settlements. The Iberian Peninsula, Europe's southwestern edge, presents dramatic contrasts in landscape due to its position between the Mediterranean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean. This results in diverse climates, from warm, dry coasts to cooler, wetter Atlantic areas and the inland Meseta Plateau with extreme temperatures. Major rivers like the Duero, Tagus, and Ebro traverse the region. The Bronze Age in Iberia was a transformative era following the Copper Age Bell-Beaker crisis and preceding Phoenician colonization. Supported by over 800 radiocarbon dates, it's divided into 3 key phases. Early Bronze Age circa 2200 to 1550 BC, a period of transition with Bell-Beaker culture lingering in some areas, while radical breaks occurred elsewhere, particularly in the southeast. Late Bronze Age, circa 1550 to 1300 BC, characterized by flux, with fewer stable settlements and less defined socio-political groups. Final Bronze Age, circa 1300 to 900 BC. Marked by growing interconnectedness within Iberia and globally, evidenced by shared metal objects reflecting Atlantic, Mediterranean, and continental influences. At the heart of Bronze Age Iberia, the El Argar culture flourished in the southeast, spanning some 33,000 square kilometers. From coastal plains to the high ground of Granada and Jaén, the Argaric people controlled a vast territory. Paleoclimatic analysis indicates a wetter climate during El Argar's rise, 3rd millennium BC, supporting extensive scrubland and Mediterranean forests. The Argaric people were masters of strategic settlement, typically perching towns on steep, easily defended hillsides, offering panoramic views of fertile plains and vital communication routes. Sites like Fuente Alamo, Gatas, La Bastida, and Cerro de la Encina usually spanned 1 to 2 hectares. Around 2000 BC, Argaric society entered a golden age of architectural and economic development. Hilltop settlements were systematically terraced, supporting dense networks of multi-storied stone and mud brick structures. Living quarters, workshops, grain deposits, stables, and bastions were tightly packed. This intense concentration of production and storage, particularly for cereals and textiles, points to a highly organized society driven by communal effort. A defining characteristic of El Argar was its unique funerary ritual. The dead were almost always buried beneath the floors of the living. These were predominantly individual tombs, though occasionally multiple bodies were interred. The deceased were laid to rest in small artificial caves, stone cists, pottery urns, or simple pits. Grave goods reveal striking standardization of pottery shapes and volumes, and sophisticated mastery of metallurgical production. Characteristic pottery included massive pithoi, 100 to 200 liters, and distinctive goblets with long, elegant stems. The Argaric metal inventory was remarkably rich, encompassing weapons like halberds, swords, and axes, alongside various tools and exquisite ornaments. Most were crafted from copper, though tin bronze appeared around 1800 to 1700 BC. Silver and gold, likely local, were reserved for high-status ornaments. Peñalosa stands out as a copper ore production site, revealing extensive mining and smelting. Refined metal then flowed to a limited number of workshops in major settlements, suggesting a centralized and strictly controlled metallurgical industry. The lithic industry, focused on stone tools, was equally vital, particularly for processing cereals. Barley reigned supreme, often comprising over 90% of cultivated seeds in later Argaric phases, suggesting extensive dry farming. Stock breeding was also a cornerstone, with cattle and sheep or goats providing roughly equal amounts of meat. El Argar was a society defined by its rigid social hierarchy. In early centuries, dominant men were buried with halberds and short swords, while women received knives, awls, and pottery. By around 1750 BC, a mature social model emerged. Dominant men were interred with long swords, while women were distinguished by elaborate diadems. This clear distinction, even in infant burials, points to the hereditary transfer of property and power. The dominant class held sway over land and production, maintained privileges through force, flaunted wealth through dazzling ornaments, and exercised direct control over local political units. Beyond the Argaric heartland, other regions of Iberia forged their own unique Bronze Age paths. In La Mancha, fortified hilltop settlements, moras and castillejos, coexisted with remarkable low-lying settlements called motillas. These motillas, like Azure, were fortified mounds crowned by central stone towers, surrounded by concentric walled enclosures used for cereal storage, cattle pens, and food or textile production, often featuring impressive stone-lined wells. In the Valencia region and the Iberian mountain range, numerous upland, often fortified settlements such as Mola d'Agres and Lloma de Betxí show intensive production, particularly in textiles and cereals. Unlike El Argar, funerary practices almost always took place outside the settlements, with individual or small group burials in natural hollows. In the west and north, permanent hilltop settlements were rare. Instead, the landscape was dotted with pit fields, collections of underground structures for storage, refuse, offerings, or even dwellings. These represented open settlements, often occupied temporarily or seasonally by relatively mobile communities with diversified economies, centered on stock breeding and increasingly sophisticated agriculture. Metal objects remained scarce and largely continued earlier forms, with less centralized metallurgical organization than in El Argar. Plain pottery predominated, though local bell beaker influences persisted. From around 1700 BC, the Protocogotus decorative style emerged in the northern Meseta, evolving into the widespread Cogotus I style by the mid-2nd millennium BC. Defined by distinctive incised and impressed geometrical motifs, this style became a chronological marker across much of the peninsula. The final Atlantic Bronze Age witnessed a surge in metal production and circulation, particularly in Galicia, Asturias, and the Duero and Tagus basins. Numerous hoards of weapons and tools, including the first fibulae and occasional iron objects, characterized this period. Portugal saw the rise of significant hilltop sites with metallurgical production, suggesting surprisingly high output from relatively small domestic environments. The Ria de Huelva hoard, radiocarbon dated to the 10th century BC, stands as a prime example of this Atlantic metal boom. This extraordinary find contains over 400 bronze pieces of diverse origins, hinting at long-distance connections. Meanwhile, in northeastern Iberia, the Urnfield phenomenon, cremation and deposition of ashes in an urn, signals connections with Central Europe. The Segre-Cinca group shows the transition from simple huts to organized stone foundation dwellings, now seen as incorporating strong indigenous elements. The collapse of El Argar around 1550 BC, attributed to internal strife and environmental overexploitation, led to the abandonment of many stable settlements in the southern half of the peninsula. Yet new centers emerged, like El Cabezo Redondo in Alicante, maintaining Argaric-like production and architecture, but with a resurgence of wealth in areas like the Vinalopó River corridor. Here, the treasure of Villena, a hoard of nearly 10 kilograms of gold and silver objects, suggests the rise of new local aristocracies controlling vital trade routes. Unique to this period are the carved stone stelae, particularly prevalent in the Guadiana and Guadalquivir basins. These depict warriors with their weapons, human figures, and sometimes striking diadems, likely serving as territorial markers or commemorations of distinguished leaders. Gold hoards, such as Sagrajas and Bodonal de la Sierra, reinforce the idea of concentrated wealth and the rise of powerful elites. The final centuries of the Bronze Age in Iberia witnessed a dynamic network for the circulation of crucial materials like copper, tin, iron, ivory, and amber. This period of intensified trade and the ability to project power through long-distance networks ultimately paved the way for the arrival of Phoenician traders. The discovery of Phoenician, Cypriot, Greek, and Sardinian pottery in Huelva, dated to around 915 to 850 BC, marks their arrival, forever changing the Iberian landscape and ushering in a new era. From roughly 2300 to 800 BC, France underwent a profound Bronze Age transformation. Its central position made it a constant crossroads for ideas, goods, and people. The Atlantic coast was a maritime highway to the British Isles and Iberia, while the Paris Basin and eastern France served as gateways to Central Europe. Southern France fostered strong ties with Italy and the wider Mediterranean. The early Bronze Age saw hierarchical societies emerge, especially in Armorica, Brittany, characterized by colossal burial mounds for powerful elites. These tombs yielded rich treasures, bronze daggers, axes, often alongside precious gold, amber, or rare faience beads. Finds like Kernonen and Plovorn indicate wealth and status, with single inhumations suggesting hereditary power, confirming widespread societal hierarchy. Western France, with strong British connections, also shows influences in domestic life, such as larger houses and early cremation. In the east, the Rhone culture emerged, gaining influence by controlling Western alpine metal resources. Its distinct metallurgy and pottery styles spread widely via the Rhone Valley. Crucially, Italian influence catalyzed the early Bronze Age in the southeast. The Middle Bronze Age witnessed a metalwork revolution, marked by a dramatic increase in large-scale production and qualitative craftsmanship. This era saw the widespread adoption of the palstave, rapier, and mighty sword. Manufacturing hubs flourished in seemingly resource-poor areas, like the Seine, Saône, and Middle Loire valleys, strategically located at the heart of burgeoning raw material trade routes. Western France developed distinct metallurgical traditions, named after major bronze hoards like Treboul and Muides. The Atlantic coast integrated deeply into the Channel North Sea cultural province, a dynamic network including southern England and Flanders, sharing Deverell-Rimbury-type pottery. In the east, the powerful Eastern tumulus culture, known for its excise pottery and intricate pins, expanded boldly into the Paris Basin and Loire Valley. The Dufay's culture reflected a blend of Atlantic and continental features. In the southeast, the local Rhodanian element evolved, absorbing northern Alpine influences, while robust Italian cultural links deepened. Unique regional characteristics, like polypod vases, signal cross-border links with Catalonia and the Basque country. The 14th century BC marked a significant transition to the Late Bronze Age, establishing a clear east-west cultural divide. The Atlantic world to the west became a major powerhouse of metalwork production, alongside its English counterparts. Iconic forms like the elegant Rosnoan and distinctive Carp's tongue swords emerged as masterpieces of Bronze Age engineering. This era saw abundant monumental bronze hoards across northern France, highlighting societies where metal's social consumption emphasized gleaming collective treasures. In eastern France, cremation became increasingly prominent, often alongside traditional burials. Rilled ware pottery served as a strong indicator, its style expanding widely into Eastern cultures. Along the vital Saône-Rhône axis, these ceramic styles show striking similarities to late Bronze Age northern Italy, underscoring persistent ties. The Atlantic Bronze Age peaked in the middle and later stages, 11th to 12th century BC, while the influential Rhine-Switzerland Eastern France (RSFO) culture established itself across a vast area, from the Paris Basin to the Rhine. This culture is defined by systematic cremation in urn fields and exquisitely fine incised pottery. Widespread RSFO type fossils suggest intense trading and interaction, with strong links continuing between the Channel provinces. By the 9th century BC, smaller, more localized cultural groups emerged, including a Central France group, marking a southerly shift in cultural dynamics. Bronze Age settlements varied greatly. Beautifully preserved lake dwellings in the Jura and Savoy offer unique insights. Strategic riverbank settlements with rows of quadrangular houses appeared. Early buildings included ellipsoid plans in Provence, while later excavations reveal sturdy rectangular mud brick houses. Eastern areas featured rectangular post-built structures, while the West, influenced by Britain, often favored circular layouts. Isolated farmsteads, sometimes integrated into vast ditch networks, remained common. Small hamlets appeared from the early Bronze Age, with more complex, organized villages best seen in lakeshore sites. Uplands saw the creation of fortified settlements. From natural spurs protected by massive cross dikes to strategically defended hills, these sites indicate a changing world. Excavated sites like Étole-le-Châtelet show successive rampart rebuildings, some encompassing over 20 hectares. These naturally protected sites were often linked to periods of crisis and insecurity, peaking in the turbulent 9th century BC. Even more astonishing were massive moated systems and dikes, such as those in the Cotentin Peninsula, La Hague, enclosing 3,500 hectares, or at Jumièges on the Seine, spanning 1,300 hectares. This groundbreaking strategy of defining vast territories with natural borders, mirroring practices in England and Ireland, strongly suggests structured social land management by a powerful elite. Evidence for an upper class is subtle, yet compelling. Hypotheses about controlled territories often rest on cemetery geography. Early Bronze Age chiefdoms in Brittany hint at modest, clearly defined burial areas. Later Bronze Age cemeteries in western Burgundy suggest settlement scales within a 20-kilometer radius. The Rhône Valley in the early Bronze Age might have seen vast territorial units up to 2,000 square kilometers, likely integrating complementary resources and transhumance routes for livestock. Climatic variations, especially a cooler, damper Middle Bronze Age, led to greater livestock investment and continued use of caves for seasonal occupation or refuge. Sacred places offer profound insights into belief systems. Alpine sites with mesmerizing engravings, including the famous early Bronze Age Montbego, depict a symbolic world of weapons, cattle, and rare human figures. Towards the end of the late Bronze Age, intricate pictograms appeared on plates, bowls, and urns. Zigzags, sun motifs, quadrupeds, and even chariots, reflecting recorded scenes and ritual practices. The powerful Iberian-style figurative stele from Boo highlights the growing heroization of the warrior and Iberian influence in Provence. Pan-European Bronze Age mythology, like the Vogelsonnenbark, finds echoes in France. The very foundations of the Bronze Age rested on metal. Early metallurgy in the Cabrières mining district shows connections to Iberian and Mediterranean contemporaries. Copper mining was significant in the Alps, with Saint-Véran active between 2200 and 1700 BC. Paleopollutant studies also indicate ancient mining in Morvan and the Basque Country. France possessed its own tin deposits, but relied on external resources from the British Isles, Iberia, and the Eastern Alps. While large-scale ore reduction sites are rare, the presence of semi-finished products and diverse imported ingots, like the Cap Hornu Horde's basket handle ingots, paint a vivid picture of vast interconnected trading networks. Direct evidence for dedicated bronze production sites remains rare, making Fort Harroward a key example. Recent finds, like delicate clay molds for scabbards from Aubervilliers near Paris, demonstrate astonishing mastery of core-based casting. Metalworking tools found in hoards and graves highlight the specialized, esteemed status of ancient smiths. French craftsmen achieved remarkable skill, employing the sophisticated lost wax process and plastic deformation to create exceptional pieces, iconic helmets, monumental armor, and intricate gold jewelry, showcasing creative independence despite links to broader European technologies. Thousands of hoards across France provide a profound picture of metal circulation and ritual. Concentrations appear in major river valleys and, surprisingly, in resource-poor areas like Normandy and Île-de-France. Conversely, some resource-rich southern regions show fewer hoards, highlighting complex regional practices. Early Bronze Age hoards were modest, but the Middle Bronze Age saw a dramatic increase in scale, with huge collections of palstaves. Unique gold objects, like the enigmatic Aventin gold cone, also emerged. The Late Bronze Age saw systematic fragmentation of bronze in the West, perhaps for recycling or ritual, while Eastern hoards became personalized with feminine jewelry and masculine hoards featuring formidable swords. Spectacular armor hoards, like 9 cuirasses from Marmesse, underscore warriors' immense social significance. The pervasive practice of hoarding highlights a major cultural and social feature across most of Bronze Age France. Bronze Age France was a diverse, evolving mosaic of cultures. Its unique position as a Central European interface, open to Atlantic, North Sea, and Mediterranean influences, generated technological transfer and social innovation. Welcome to the heart of Europe's watery frontier. For millennia, the story of the Low Countries, modern-day Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg has been shaped by its unique terrain. Here, the dynamic Holocene coasts and rivers carved out a landscape distinct from the higher Pleistocene uplands and Loess Plateau, and the rugged forests of the Ardennes. This region was more than just a landscape. It was a crucial interface, a vibrant borderland where worlds converged. To the north and east, it connected to the Nordic network. To the south, the influence of the Atlantic network stretched its tendrils. And from the east, continental cultures flowed into the Ardennes. The winding river zones of the Rhine, Meuse, and Isel didn't just define geography, they formed key cultural boundaries, shaping distinct identities. Born in the Quaternary, these low-lying lands offered tempting prospects for ancient settlers. Fertile, sandy outcrops and rich silt deposits became magnets for communities, particularly in regions like West Frisia, where incredible preservation offers us a rare, almost untouched glimpse into their Bronze Age world. Even the less fertile sandy uplands drew dense settlement, eventually giving rise to the characteristic Celtic field systems, a testament to ancient agricultural ambition. For a brief flicker, the widespread bell beaker culture seemed to unite this diverse region, its distinctive pottery traveling far and wide. But as the Middle Bronze Age dawned, local spirit re-emerged. Regional identities solidified, expressed beautifully through their pottery. The elegantly plain Alps style dominated north of the Isel, while the Hilversum tradition, with its intriguing ties to Britain and France, flourished to the south. Further west, the later Hochkarspel style emerged. This regionalism only deepened in the subsequent Urnfield period, with distinct Ems, Lower Rhine, and RSFO styles dominating different areas, each telling a story of unique local traditions and wider exchange. RSFO is also known as the Rhine-Switzerland-Eastern France group. The very heart of Bronze Age life was the farm. Early structures of the Vlaardingen culture were often smaller, two-aisled buildings. But after 1500 BC, a profound architectural shift occurred, the emergence of the impressive three-aisled longhouse. These structures became iconic, their regional styles revealing subtle differences. Clear signs of cattle stalling within these homes, particularly in the north and east, paint a vivid picture of the social and economic importance of their livestock, a precious commodity sheltered under the same roof. Settlement patterns were far from uniform. In West Frisia, houses clustered together, creating compact communities. Elsewhere, more dispersed farmsteads dotted the landscape, each family living in its own sphere. But wherever they settled, archaeological sites reveal fascinating features: large storage pits, essential wells, and distinctive 4- or 6-post outbuildings, likely granaries, hinting at organized agriculture and food storage. As agricultural practices matured, manuring became a key innovation that took root from the Middle Bronze Age onwards. These precise, geometric land divisions are particularly visible in the northern and central Netherlands, a testament to intensive land management and a shift towards more permanent, organized farming. Interestingly, these extensive field systems seem to be absent in West Frisia, hinting at different agricultural strategies. The journey of the dead varied as much as the living landscape. On the sandy uplands, barrows were incredibly prominent, marking the resting places of individuals or families. Yet, across the border in Belgian Flanders, these mounds were almost entirely leveled, lost to time or later practices. The later Urnfield period ushered in a new era of cemeteries across the Low Countries, each with its own regional traditions and grave goods, and the very pottery that held the cremated remains. Even the Ardennes adopted the RSFO tradition, sometimes using natural caves for burials, like the atmospheric site at Huns-sur-Lessay. Barrow building began remarkably early, around 2900 BC, flourishing after 2600 BC, and lasting until around 1400 BC. Then, after 1200 BC, the Urnfield tradition rose, characterized by cremated remains placed in urns within cemeteries. Often, older barrows became sacred focal points for these new cemeteries, honoring ancestral connections. The Urnfield tradition proved resilient here, continuing in the Low Countries until the very end of the early Iron Age. Regional identity even extended to how they laid their dead to rest. In the north, inhumation, burial of the whole body, was preferred until about 1200 BC. But south of the Meuse, cremation began much earlier, and in a true archaeological enigma, West Frisia shows a complete absence of both barrows and urnfields after 1600 BC. This suggests a unique, perhaps archaeologically invisible funerary tradition, a ritual whose traces simply haven't survived the millennia. The barrows of the Low Countries, while significant, were generally more modest in size than their imposing Nordic counterparts. Their delimiting structures varied, some marked by rings of posts, others by ditches. The very act of barrow burial seems to have been highly selective, often linked to ancestral significance, with later settlements and urnfields often associating themselves with these older, revered mounds. When urnfields emerged around 1200 BC, sometimes as very long barrows initially, they later evolved into smaller, often ditched mounds. While they might appear more egalitarian, subtle differences in size and form likely held deep social meaning. Urnfields seem to have emphasized community identity, binding small groups of farmsteads together. Indeed, many Urnfield cemeteries were surprisingly small, suggesting they served close-knit communities of just a few families. The Urnfield period also opened a floodgate of pottery evidence, with distinct regional styles like the bold northern and eastern Ems tradition, and the more subtle southern Lower Rhine tradition, reflecting wider exchange networks across the continent. Despite its distance from the major ore sources, the Low Countries adopted metal remarkably early. From the Middle Bronze Age onwards, a vibrant local production scene emerged. We find axes, spearheads, and ornaments crafted right here, as evidenced by sites like Os-Horzak. The very act of recycling metal was crucial, transforming old broken pieces into new treasures, a story whispered by hordes like the remarkable collection from Voorhout. This region was a true transit zone, a vital corridor for goods and ideas. This is vividly reflected in the diverse origins of imported bronzes. The South saw a mix of continental and Atlantic imports, while the North occasionally received items from the distant Nordic world. Recent research increasingly emphasizes the profound significance of French and Central European imports over direct British links, with coastal seafaring likely facilitating this vibrant trade. But perhaps the most defining and most mysterious characteristic of the Bronze Age in the Low Countries is the deliberate deposition of bronzes in natural, often watery places. Thousands of gleaming artifacts, axes, swords, ornaments, were plunged into rivers and bogs, never to be retrieved. The cultural biography of each object, its history and significance, played a role in its final ritualistic placement. Key deposition zones include stretches of major rivers, and vast peat bogs like Bargeroosterveld, where mysteriously some finds are even associated with unique structures like the enigmatic temple. This fascinating practice of metal deposition in natural places, so central to their Bronze Age identity, began to decrease significantly with the arrival of the early Iron Age, signaling a shift in belief and ritual. The old ways were slowly fading. The Low Countries offer an incredibly rich archaeological record, revealing a dynamic interplay of environmental forces, its pivotal position within major European exchange networks, and a wealth of unique local practices. For about 1,000 years, starting around 2500 BC, Britain and Ireland experienced a significant change with the beginning of the Bronze Age. This wasn't a sudden shift, but a gradual adoption of tin bronze, an alloy far stronger than copper, reshaping their world and leaving echoes across millennia. Despite their island nature, Britain and Ireland were vibrant crossroads, deeply connected to continental Europe. People and ideas flowed along wild Atlantic coasts and winding river networks. These islands were also treasure troves of resources: copper in southern Ireland and Wales, gold in the east, and essential tin likely from southwest England. Timeless materials such as flint and jet continued to hold great value. Between 2500 and 2400 BC, copper items started to emerge, brought along with a collection of goods and concepts from the continent. This assortment featured the renowned beaker pottery, stone wrist guards, unique flint arrowheads, and the initial sparkle of metal jewelry. As these newcomers settled, they encountered established communities already engaged in monumental endeavors. The construction of increasingly vast circular or oval structures of earth, timber, and stone. Places like Stonehenge stand as eternal testaments to this ambition. These colossal monuments were meticulously placed along natural pathways, often linked to older sacred places, with grand avenues and palisades defining the approach. Enigmatic rock art in northern Britain and Ireland adds another layer to these sacred landscapes, hinting at complex belief systems. Burial practices were equally varied. In Britain, individual barrow burials became common for those associated with beaker culture. In Western and Northern Ireland, distinctive wedge tombs rose from the earth. Strikingly, design parallels often leap across vast distances, mirrored in the widespread distribution of pottery, like the distinctive grooved ware from Orkney, suggesting a shared cultural language. While monuments loom large, the settlements where people lived in the latter half of the 3rd millennium BC remain more elusive. Their homes were often simple oval and circular structures, leaving a fragile footprint. Only in northern Scotland do we find more substantial, enduring sites. The prominence of cattle in ritual contexts, especially in central England, hints at a mobile, pastoral lifestyle. Small-scale cultivation was common, and from the late 3rd millennium BC, burnt mounds, known in Ireland as Fulachtfiad, became widespread. These enigmatic sites, often near water, were likely outdoor kitchens. The puzzling scarcity of fish and shellfish in their diet, despite being islanders, remains a fascinating mystery. The late 3rd to early 2nd millennium BC is largely understood through the whispers of the dead, their burial practices, grave goods, and hidden hoards of dazzling bronze metalwork. Inhumations and monumental burial mounds, often laden with exotic materials like gold, amber, and faience beads, painted a picture so vivid it led to the concept of a widespread, influential Wessex culture in southern England. However, funerary practices were far more diverse, including poignant cave burials, strangely preserved bog bodies, and the powerful reuse of older monuments. Grave goods varied by region. Exquisite jet necklaces in northern Britain, warm amber necklaces in the south. Bronze and flint daggers, symbols of status, also showed differing distributions. Both inhumation and cremation were practiced, but as the 2nd millennium BC began, cremation became the dominant rite. Burial sites were often reused for centuries, deeply integrated into the living landscape. Stone monuments continued to be built and reworked, evolving alongside generations. A rare glimpse into the unexpected came with the remarkable preservation of a timber circle at home next the sea, dating to around 2049 BC. This sea henge offered invaluable insights into woodworking tools. The tool marks on the ancient timbers couldn't be definitively matched to the bronze axe types we find in hoards, suggesting that highly prized axes might not always represent common, everyday tools. Furthermore, the burials we find likely represent only a fraction of the total population, chosen few whose interment was tied to specific life stories and community beliefs. The late 3rd to early 2nd millennium BC was a period of rapid growth in craftsmanship across multiple materials: metal, ceramics, flint, and exotic treasures. Flint and stone working flourished, producing impressive stone mace heads and axe hammers. Skilled artisans crafted intricate jewelry from dark jet, warm amber, and luminous faience. The very earth yielded its bounty. Flint mines like Grimes' Graves reached their peak, vast underground labyrinths of prehistoric industry. Copper mines like Great Orme in Wales and Mount Gabriel in Ireland began extracting the vital ore. Goldworking also reached new heights of sophistication, evolving from simpler forms to elaborate embossed capes and intricate ornaments that shimmered with the wealth of a changing society. Even ceramic vessels diversified beyond the iconic beaker and grooved ware, embracing new forms like food vessels and collared urns, alongside distinct regional styles. The mid-2nd millennium BC marked a fundamental turning point, with a clear distinction emerging between what archaeologists call the earlier and later Bronze Age, especially visible in southern and eastern England. Here, the archaeological spotlight shifted. Evidence for settlements and subsistence became more prominent than grand monuments and funerary remains. Craftworking honed its focus, primarily on metal and ceramics, signaling new priorities. The very landscape was re-engineered. Circular settlements, dominated by sturdy roundhouses, became widespread. And, particularly in southern and eastern England, vast rectilinear field systems emerged, often appearing to lay out the land before the homes were built. While less common elsewhere, these fields hint at a more settled, organized approach to farming. Sites like Flag Fen suggest sophisticated livestock management. Wells were introduced, improving water access. Crop types shifted, with spelt wheat and hulled barley becoming common, and new crops like beans and rye appearing. The archaeological record shows a clear decline in wild food exploitation, cementing greater reliance on domesticated resources. These iconic roundhouses, built from timber or stone with thatched roofs, displayed regional variations. While evidence for extensive villages remains limited, a pattern of abandonment and rebuilding is observed, hinting at a dynamic use of space over generations. Even here, ritual found its place. Deliberate special deposits were often made during the construction and abandonment of these homes. As the Bronze Age matured, a dramatic material shift occurred. The intricate working of stone, flint, and exotic materials declined, increasingly replaced by the shimmering dominance of bronze and gold. The quantity and variety of bronze and gold artifacts surged, while older copper mining largely ceased. Recycling of precious metal was common, yet coastal finds, like the incredibly preserved Dover boat, hint at direct continental imports. The defining enigma of this period is the widespread, deliberate deposition of thousands of metal objects, not in graves or settlements, but in natural places like rivers, bogs, and lakes. Shields plunged into rivers, spears and swords cast into river valleys, delicate ornaments hidden in watery hoards. These are profound, ritualistic acts. The deposited bronze provides archaeologists with a vital typochronological sequence, with changes in forms roughly every 2 centuries, a material clock marking the passage of time. Bronze object types evolved, from simpler palstaves and spears to the more complex socketed axes and diverse sword styles. Goldworking too shifted, embracing casting and manipulating solid forms into breathtaking twisted torques and bracelets. Cremation and burial in flat cemeteries near settlements became widespread in England. Ireland continued cremation with urns and barrow construction, while Scotland saw cremated remains placed at older monuments. By the early 1st millennium BC, direct burial evidence became even more restricted. This doesn't mean ancestors were forgotten, but perhaps that funerary rites had shifted in focus, becoming less visible archaeologically. As the Bronze Age drew to a close, roughly from the late 2nd to early 1st millennium BC, conditions grew colder and wetter. This likely impacted agriculture, potentially contributing to a reduction in upland settlements. Defended settlements like towering hill forts, enigmatic lake dwellings, and sturdy ringworks began to pepper the landscape. Long linear earthworks also appeared, potentially marking new boundaries in a world undergoing fundamental redefinition.